an ambitious and somewhat aloof young surveyor from Virginia, helps ignite the conflict in 1754. His name, George Washington. In battle, he will discover his gift for war and for leadership. The French hold a vast territory from Canada to Louisiana and control it with heavily armed forts. Serving in the Virginia militia, the 21-year-old Washington delivers a letter to the French at Fort Le Boeuf, which guards the Ohio Valley. The message demands that the French withdraw from their own territory. The French commander refuses, violently. Commented George Washington,
"I have heard the bullets whistle, and believe me, there is something charming in the sound."
Promoted to colonel, Washington volunteers as a guide to British General Braddock. Braddock arrogantly rejects the young Virginian's advice on how to properly fight a backwoods war, then pays the price. Braddock and 400 men die, and Washington has 2 horses shot out from under him. Washington learns an unexpected lesson. The British Army is far from invincible. Despite Braddock's death and other losses, England eventually wins the war and drives France out of America. Young Washington begins the war hoping for British recognition, but by the end, he feels more like a Virginian than an Englishman. The war between England and France will forever change America. At war's end, England is nearly bankrupt. Insisting that the colonies pay a share of their own upkeep and defense, England passes the Stamp Act of 1765 in the middle of a colonial depression, affecting Bibles, almanacs, legal documents, and playing cards, anything printed. It is the first direct tax ever levied on Americans, and it leads to riots across the colonies. Outrage runs like fever through the land and alienates the colonists from their very identity as British subjects. In the Virginia House of Burgesses, Patrick Henry, the son of a frontier farmer, bitterly denounces the tax.
If this be treason, make the most of it.
His wealthy fellow Virginian George Washington likes it no better.
Parliament hath no more right to put their hands into my pockets without my consent than I have to put my hand into yours for money.
The Stamp Act is repealed the next year, but England continues to insist that it rules the colonies, and no matter how much they might rebel, the Americans do not, in fact, rule themselves. The British presence in the colonies grows more disturbing and more inflammatory with each passing year. New taxes, new riots, and even more violence. In 1770, it is neither taxation nor representation, but ice that leads to tragedy. An angry colonist throws a chunk of ice at a British soldier guarding Boston's customs house, knocking him down. British reinforcements soon appear to control the crowd. In a moment of terrible confusion, several of the soldiers mistake a shout for an order to fire. 5 people die, including a sailor named Crispus Attucks. Of African American and Indian ancestry, he is the first of many people of color who will die for American liberty. The incident, known as the Boston Massacre, fuels the growing fury. frustrations erupt again on December 16, 1773, again in Boston, over tea. Protesting restrictions on the tea trade, a group of local mechanics, artisans, and merchants head down to the harbor dressed as Mohawk Indians. Led by Sam Adams, a former beer maker better at brewing trouble, they call themselves the Sons of Liberty. As one bystander put it,
the Sons of Liberty boarded the ships, and without much deliberation, knocked open the chests and emptied several thousand weight of the finest tea into the ocean.
For Sam Adams and others, it is a chance to keep up American anger toward the mother country. Adams' intentions are clear. He wants to be free of England, and that means revolution. To demand their rights as free-born Americans, 55 of the wealthiest and most influential men in the colonies, including Sam Adams, John Adams, Patrick Henry, John Hancock, meet together on September 1774 in Philadelphia. At the First Continental Congress, they take the first step toward inventing a new nation. Violence is in the air, and the Continental Congress resolves that if the British use force against the people of Massachusetts, all Americans ought to support them in resistance. On March 23, 1775, firebrand Patrick Henry utters the words that still ring in our ears today.
Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, God Almighty. I know not what course others may take, but for me, give me liberty or give me death.
On the eve of open warfare, few colonists consider revolution. Most Americans have no desire for independence from England. They want fair treatment. It will be the king and his army of occupation in Massachusetts that will push them to the edge. On the 18th of April, 1775, General Thomas Gage, commander of all the British troops in North America, readies a column of 800 men. His orders: put down the rebellious local militia known as the Minutemen. Night does little to mask the British movements. Boston is full of Patriot spies. Silversmith Paul Revere races ahead to warn of the coming raid. It is to be the most famous horse ride in American history.
I set off upon a very good horse. After I passed Charlestown Neck, I saw two men on horseback. When I got near them, I discovered they were British officers. One tried to get ahead of me, and the other tried to take me. I got clear. And after that, I awakened almost every house till I got to Lexington.
Daybreak. 841 British troops, the Redcoats, arrive on Lexington Green to face a ragtag group of 70 Minutemen. No one knows who fires first, but within minutes, 8 Americans are dead and 10 wounded. The British march on unimpeded. At North Bridge in Concord, a larger force of Americans awaits them. Now both sides suffer casualties. 2 Concord men die, 3 redcoats fall, and the whole thing is over in 3 minutes. This is the shot heard round the world. Hearing the actual musket fire, revolutionary leader Sam Adams exclaims, "What a glorious morning this is." As the British fall back to Boston, they are besieged on all sides by patriots. "273 English soldiers are killed or wounded." Within 24 hours, the city of Boston, occupied by British